Ubisoft's financial call gave us an update on how the PlayStation 5 is going to be doing in terms of backwards compatibility, and it does seem like it'll be able to play all PlayStation 4 games, so it's pretty exciting. I should actually adjust that and say almost all PlayStation 4 games. We'll look at exactly what was said. Also, we have an outline on when Ubisoft's AAA games are going to be released, and specifically 3 of them look to be released between October and December. And Activision has also given us an update on their plans. Activision confirms a new Call of Duty for Q4 2020 is in development, and several remastered and reimagined titles are in development as well, so we'll highlight that. But first up, the PlayStation 5 looks to be having at least some form of backwards compatibility, as it was suggested that PlayStation 5 will be backwards compatible with some PlayStation 4 games, actually almost all of them. Now, what was said during the financial call, Ubisoft's head honcho Yves Guillemot answered a question regarding next generation and backwards compatibility, and he noted those consoles will be running almost all of the back catalog of the previous consoles. It will be something new in the industry. It will help the old generations continue to be big consoles on the market for years to come. It's an interesting quote, and that does suggest that the PlayStation 5 will play almost every PlayStation 4 title. However, there's definitely some wiggle room in the words. You could think that it would play PlayStation 3, PlayStation 2, and PlayStation 1 game because he just noted previous consoles. He didn't actually go into what consoles, and he did note the old generations. He specifically said old generations. Now, maybe that could be something that's just a slip up of words. You know, you're talking to a lot of people on these financial calls, you're going over a lot of information, and with a question like this, you are just speaking from off the cuff. So who knows on that? It does look like the PlayStation 5 will have some form of backwards compatibility. It's actually pretty much confirmed at this point. We haven't heard it directly out of Sony's mouth, but we heard about Spider-Man running a lot better on the PlayStation 5 versus the PS4 thanks to the SSD and the fast load times. I just think this is a big deal when heading into next generation, and I've said this before, but going into next generation, backwards compatibility is going to be a big deal, and here was what makes it a much bigger deal. Sony's already got a leg up on the competition, given the fact that they've sold, what, 108 million PlayStation 4s at this point? How many Xbox Ones are out there? Like 44, 45 million? Well, you're talking about a large percentage of the consumer base already picking up PlayStation 4s. They've bought a lot of games on there, and a lot of those people are buying games digitally now more than ever. They probably like that because that probably locks you into the ecosystem. Yeah, you could get rid of your PlayStation 4, you could forget about your digital games, and you can just move on to next generation and be like, if I want to play those old games, I can dig up my PS4. But I think for a lot of people, that will be a factor, that I can go into next generation, I'll have all of my PlayStation 4 downloadable titles, they'll be good to go, I can play them on PS5, and then I can play all of the other games on PS5 as well. I think Sony also has a leg up in the sense that they've established so much brand loyalty with their franchises, but that's an entirely different topic. I think the fact of backwards compatibility being a real thing, it's going to make this generation really interesting in seeing how many people are picking up PlayStation 5s right out of the gate, and what is the competition like, because I think out of the gate, people are going to be more invested into PlayStation. I think there's no way that the Xbox Series X is going to outsell the PlayStation 5, barring some sort of catastrophe where they price the PS5 at like $1,299 or some crazy like that. Even $1,000 would be kind of crazy. But generally speaking, with the information we do have, which is a significant amount of information with all of the rumors and all of the general things that we could deduce, it does look like PlayStation is going to have a leg up. And at the very least, hey, if you're excited for the PlayStation 5, know that you should be able to play PlayStation 4 games. As far as PS3, PS2, PS1 games, I think it would be very, very helpful for Sony to pat that down and get that locked into the PlayStation 5. That would incentivize people to sign up to PlayStation Now as well, because the bulk of the quality on PS Now is from the PlayStation 3 games. At least in my opinion, I think their PS3 game lineup is so good, and to be able to download those games directly and not have to stream them, that would be absolutely fantastic. But at this point, a lot of speculation, but we have that to work with at least. Also, coming out of the Ubisoft financial call, Ubisoft expects 3 of its 5 new AAA games to be released between October and December of 2020. The final 2 AAA games will be released between January 2021 and March 2021. More information on these titles and launch timing in mid-May. Daniel Ahmad also noted that Watch Dogs Legion, Gods and Monsters, and Rainbow Six Quarantine are 3 of those 5 titles. All games are expected to support next-gen consoles with HD patches, so all of those games gonna be on next-gen platforms as well. That's kind of expected. They did that with Watch Dogs 1. Watch Dogs 1 was on the PS3 and 360. See, for a publisher like Ubisoft, the main goal is to sell as many copies of these games possible, so you can make the idea of, wouldn't it just be better if these games were developed ground up for the PS5? Not in the third party's best interest. The third party cares cares about selling as many copies of the game as possible. And yes, you can make the argument that, hey, if they make the game for next generation, that makes it an even more enticing purchase of the game quality, but that doesn't offset the fact that we've got 100 and odd million PlayStation 4 owners, you've got 44 million Xbox One owners over there. Do you want to completely forego that right at the start of the generation? Absolutely not. That's why you're going to see a lot of cross-generational titles. You're going to see a lot of the sports games being released on last-gen platforms. Because bottom line is, from a third-party standpoint, they want to sell you games. From a first-party standpoint, it's a little bit different because they're selling you the consoles as well. They're trying to drive you into that ecosystem of the next-generation platform. They gotta release first-party titles exclusively on next-generation. Now, from a Microsoft standpoint, they're not completely abiding by that theory, but nonetheless, I think Sony will be, and I think you will be having major exclusives. But from a Ubisoft standpoint, it does seem like they're gonna keep a cross-generational focus. Also, just to confirm, Daniel Ahmad noted, when they said they would explain more in May, I believe they clarified they were talking about their fiscal year earnings briefing, not referring to a PS5 or Xbox Series X event, so don't even start the speculation on that. I know Ubisoft isn't everyone's favorite publisher, but I do think they are offering up some marquee titles, and the next Assassin's Creed, even though I'm not a fan of the direction Assassin's Creed has gone, you know that that's going to be a major game release, and especially if it parlays with the launch of the next-gen consoles, much similar to Assassin's Creed 4, that's going to be one of the biggest game releases of the year. And then what's interesting is you also have Watch Dogs Legion. Is Watch Dogs Legion going to come out in that October to December period for Ubisoft? Why would you want to compete with yourself by releasing two major marquee open world games? I don't think that makes a lot of sense, and I do think that's going to detract from the attention that Watch Dogs Legion gets, but hey, that's kind of the way that things are going to work in the holidays. Especially this year with the game delays, there's going to be like a billion games coming out in the latter portion of 2020, and who knows, they could even hold off Assassin's Creed until early 2021, maybe push Watch Dogs Legion to like October, November, but you would think that Watch Dogs Legion would be the game to come first, and Assassin's Creed coming out in a March of a year would be a far cry from what's traditionally done. I believe Assassin's Creed has always come out during the holidays, so that would be something different, but there's no reason they couldn't be able to do that. So there you have that with some assessment from yours truly. Also, Activision confirms a new Call of Duty for Q4 2020, and here's the more interesting element. Several remastered and reimagined titles are in development as well. Activision Blizzard confirmed several release plans for 2020 during its fourth quarter and 2019 financial results conference call. Here is a summary via Nico Partners senior analyst Daniel Ahmad on Twitter. A new Call of Duty title will be released in Q4 2020. Several remastered and reimagined titles are in development, which will be announced later in 2020. You know what that means? Activision looked at the results. They saw Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, Spyro Reignited Trilogy, and they were like, holy hell, these games are selling well. There is a market for Crash. There is a market for Spyro. How do we cash in right now, and how do we make some more projects? Activision's got a wealth of games in their repertoire. I mean, you've got so many IPs you can explore, whether or not you want to revive a new Spyro game and make an entirely new experience, whether or not you want to bring other Spyro games back, whatever they want to do. The gaming development side of things is really their oyster to play with. They have so many moving parts and they can do so much, but it is Activision, and sometimes I'm just like, man, it's Activision. Are they really going to do what we want them to do, or is this going to be some train wreck that does happen? Now, that's from an Activision side of things. From a Blizzard Entertainment side of things, Diablo Immortal will enter alpha testing in mid-2020, and World of Warcraft Classic will receive new content just like other Blizzard Entertainment titles, and King will invest in new titles for 2020. It is worth noting that in February 2019, the Pan-European Game Information rated a still unannounced Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 remastered, and that could be one of the remastered games that Activision is referring to. MW2 Remastered, sign me up for that. MW2 was, to many, the best Call of Duty game ever, and whether or not we want to get into that debate, I don't think now's the time for it. I think most of us can agree that MW2 was a fantastic game, and I'd love to revisit it, especially after the release of Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered. It makes a lot of sense to do an MW2 Remastered as well. I don't know if the idea would be to bundle it in with a new Call of Duty. I really think the better idea is to release it as a separate entity, release it for $39.99. People are going to buy the hell out of it. Hell, you could release the MW2 Remastered for $59.99, and I think a significant amount of people would pick it up for that price point as well. Whatever the case may be, I think MW1's remaster was generally well received. Did it have some problems here and there? Sure, but I think people did enjoy it, and I think MW2 Remastered would do very well. But as far as going back into the rabbit hole and digging up games, there's stuff like Tony Hawk, there's stuff like Spyro, there's stuff like Crash Bandicoot. I'd honestly like to see a new Spyro experience. You guys know that I'm very nostalgic with Spyro, and I love the old games, but I want to see a completely new Spyro. I want to see a new Spyro game. You know, we've got the PlayStation 5 and next Xbox coming out. Spyro should be done justice, and I know for a lot of you guys, you side with Crash Bandicoot a little bit more, and that's fine. Crash Bandicoot should be done justice as well, and I thought the trilogies did really good for both of those titles, but there's definitely opportunity for more business in both Crash Bandicoot and Spyro in terms of them as gaming IP. So that's going to conclude this video. Again, Ubisoft head is saying that PlayStation 5 will run almost all PS4 games. As far as Ubisoft's release patterns, they're expecting 3 of its 5 new games to be released between October and December, but barring any delays, you know, every game seems to be getting delayed these days. Hell, games like Gods and Monsters, Watch Dogs Legion, they were all scheduled for the early portion of this year, and you saw what happened to them, and the other 2 titles are going to be coming from 2021 between January and March. So there you have that. And Activision, they might be going back into the vault and digging up some older games, reimagining them and remastering them, so that could be potentially exciting. That's going to conclude this video. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.